This is Heather McKay from McKay's Photography. I just wanted to walk you through my thought process when I'm wet editing. For those of you who don't know what wet editing is, it is editing a wedding, which is a daunting task, especially if you have a second photographer on the wedding. For me, I've been doing this for 15 years now, so I'm pretty good at only photographing what I know the bride and groom will want, what I will want for the album, what mom and grandma will want for prints. I don't shoot on burst mode or anything like that. I try to get really unique photos. But when I have a second photographer or bad lighting or rushed timeline, I end up with too many photos. A lot of people ask how I choose what the bride and groom sees. So here we have a wedding from the beautiful Aurora Inn in Aurora, New York. And these ones that you're seeing here in purple are ones that I've already narrowed down, already sort of color corrected, converted to black and white, cropped, that sort of thing. You can see, if you look down here in Lightroom, it shows me that I still have 1,261 photos, which is still a lot. I try to deliver under 1,000 for sure. Try to get it closer to 700. Anything more than that is just overwhelming for the bride and groom to go through, and especially their guests would never go through that many photos. What I will point out in that 1,200 photos is some of them are the rehearsal dinner, which I photographed, which has 130 photos that I kept. It was a little barbecue, which was really fun, and also their engagement photos. So I don't really have 1,200 still to go through. And so I marked these rehearsal ones in blue just so I could remember where it stopped. And then getting ready is here in purple. These are color coded so that I know where I left off in my editing so that I can just do a couple a day. Usually try to do one big chunk of the wedding each day so that I don't procrastinate. Editing the photos is my least favorite part. I like taking the photos and delivering the photos and doing the wedding album. Those are my favorite parts. But editing down and all this stuff is something I'm not a big fan of. I used to photograph on film, and I loved being able to drop off my film at the photo lab and go do other things all week, like photograph more weddings. But now I am the photo lab, so I find I really procrastinate quite a bit. Anyway. So I color code where I've stopped so that I can just pop over here and I'm not overwhelmed thinking I have to edit 1,261 more photos today, which is not the case. As you can see, yesterday I left off with bride and groom photos. I just want to go through real quick how I narrow down. As you can see, the lighting's pretty consistent. I have this nice blue sky. I have detail in the white dress. Quality-wise, they look pretty good straight out of the gate. Here you can see that I'm in grid mode. Like I said, I'm going to just start back up here. So sometimes you can kind of just tell which one is more dynamic. Like this one, there's an interaction between the two of them. It's a nice pose. You've got some motion in her dress. So that's one of the reasons this particular one went on my blog post. Same thing here. They're doing something a little bit different than all of these. I see a lot of photographers who just leave all of these photos, but the bride and groom won't be able to know which one's the best one. So what's the point? You should just edit down. This one I took because my second photographer is running through the photos, so I can send that to her. I flagged it for that reason, and now I'm just going to delete it. So I'm just going to hit the delete button to get rid of that one. So we have this one here, for example, is they're doing like a little first dance, and it's already rated 4 stars, which means that it went on the blog post. And so this one's very similar, so I might as well just get rid of that one. I mean, what's the point? It's not as dynamic. If I double click on it, we can look and see if they have a better face. Nope, she doesn't have a better face. So we're going to go back and we're just going to delete that one because we don't need it. We have one very similar that's better. Okay, so now let's take these 4 here. If I really want to go through these 4, you can make by hitting the plus button, you can make the grid bigger, which helps you see a little better. That's one way to do it. When I'm photographing this particular scene, one thing I'm trying to get in the background is also their wedding location, which is right back here. It shows how it's all put together, which I like for the album. So sometimes I'll see Is there a better view? Like, would there be a truck back here that I don't want, or something like this? This one shows the whole scene with the venue and the ruins and more of the water. So I might keep that one. Like I said, like you can see, I've already got this one as a 2-star, and that's a 1-star. So maybe I'll just keep the far away and keep the close up in case we need different things for the album. So then these look the same, so I'll just delete those. I don't need them in my album. Again, this one I'll get rid of because I have this one, which is a lot better. I also have this one I can look at. The reason I'd get rid of this one over this one, where they're both kissing, is one, her dress is a little bit more dynamic here. I like the way that the trees are making your eye focus more on them than even they are here. But the biggest reason is because with this one, her arm is blocking half of their kiss. And if you're a male watching this, you always want to make sure that the bride looks good. We're raised in America, we have lots of body issue stuff, so you always want to make sure that the female looks good, especially if it's the bride. She should always look good in photos. Even though this girl is thin and trim and her arms are trim, it's still the closest thing to the camera, and it's still blocking the main action, which is their kiss. So that is the reason I'm going to get rid of this. No one wants her arm blocking everything. Not her, not me, not anyone. So that one I will go ahead and edit down, mainly because her arm is blocked. The second reason I'm going to block this one is because her arm is also missing the rest of, like, this awkwardness of her elbow being missing. There's no rest of her arm, which makes her look a little bit like an amputee. Nobody wants that. So we're just going to delete that photo completely. It's an okay photo and it came out, but we're going to delete it. Okay, so now you can see that I very quickly, very easily edited down those 5-6 photos with just gut reaction. You know, maybe I want this further away one and then this close up, maybe I don't. If I end up getting too many wedding photos by the end, I can delete this photo too. Or keep this one because they're so similar and we can always crop it later if we need to. And now I'm just going to do a really quick edit. This photo came out of the camera pretty good. I don't really need to do much to it. The only thing is her hair blends into these trees a little bit too much. So I'm just going to bring back the shadows just a little. And, you know, I could bring that exposure up just a hair as long as I don't lose the detail in her dress. You can see even bumping the exposure 1 helped a lot. I'm going to bring back those shadows just a little bit more. And then if I wanted to crop or straighten or rotate, I would do that too. But I'm not going to worry too much about that at the moment. And so because I brightened that and boosted the shadows, I'm going to go ahead and do that to this one also. And that way we have that definition between her hair and the trees. So this is why this one ended up on my blog, because she is really the focal point, because the sky is cradling her with these trees in the back. You still can see the venue back here. He's interacting with her, and then there's all this motion. So that is why that one ended up on my blog and not this one, which is similar. So this one is similar, but you can't see her face. There's not really much of an interaction between them, just the basic standard, hi, I'm staring at you, which is sort of boring. So when you want to edit down photos, you want to look at something that's a little more interesting, something that shows both of them. And even though I said earlier about like her arm being closer, this one is not as bad because there's so much going on right here between the two of them. There's so much that your eye is being brought to. She's looking down at her arm, which it brings you back around to him, and it just makes this nice circle. You also have these posts and her dress bringing you back, and this tree bringing back to this moment between the bride and groom. So that's why that one is a better photo than this one. So now that I'm looking at it both next to each other and talking it out, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this because, again, we're never going to use it. We don't need it. I want them to use this one if they want any of these. So what's the point of showing them this one, even though it came out and it's nice and it's fine, it's in focus, blah, blah, blah. So we'll just get rid of it. There's less to go through. Same thing here. We've got this one. He's twirling her. We've got this kiss. I know this couple. We have a million kissing photos. I think I might go ahead and keep this one because I can see a little more of her hair, the back of her dress. It is a nice moment. I'll probably crop that. But let's get on to the next series of photos. So again, these are all very similar. These ones with 4 stars, that's the one that ended up on my blog post, so I need to keep that one. Again, I can copy and paste these settings so you can see I brightened it. If I really want to, I can just select that first one and then select the next and paste the settings there, and it'll brighten up all of them. So that way I can really see what's going on. You can see this one here, my exposure must have been very different because it didn't really match. Okay, so we'll deselect that. So that's the one I have on my blog. That one I like. Let's bring that exposure back down. And the other thing you can do if you want to keep a lot is do one black and white, one in color. Sometimes that's nice. I don't like to do it just to do it. So this one's a nice, like, they're chatting, laughing moment. That one, she's just kind of staring at him, and her hair's in her face. So I'm going to get rid of that one. And you can see that I had already marked them 1, 2, 3, and 4 stars anyway. So if I did that on my initial gut reaction, I might as well just keep my gut reaction. This one, I'm not as excited about her facial expression. And we have this one, which is much better. Even though the lighting's not as nice on her face and her hair's a little bit messier, it's a better pose. You can see her ring better. You see that, how they're closer. So I might as well just get rid of this one because because she's looking into the sun, she's looking at me like she's confused. So I'm just going to get rid of it. This one I do like. I think even though I didn't rate it, I will go ahead and keep that one. I really like the intensity of their look there. And these two love kissing, so I might go ahead and leave that one. But this one, they're laughing. But I think I like the intensity of that one a little better. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the last one. I might keep it. This is where I decide, okay, how many photos do I have? How many different poses do I have? Do I really need all 4 of these? I don't really need all 4 of these, but if I go back to the grid, how many of the 2 of them do I really have? I've got 1 pose, 2 poses, 3 poses, 4 poses, 5-ish, 6. All right, so I only have maybe 6 different poses of the bride and groom. So I think that these are different enough that I'm going to leave them. I probably still could edit one of them down. But one thing I'm going to do is make them consistent. So you want to make sure that they are as consistent in exposure as possible. When one of them is a lot brighter or darker than the other ones, the client will notice. So you want to make them as consistent as possible. You want this blue to look the same. You want her white dress to look the same. You can play with the shadows and highlights to bring it back. This sky looks a lot more yellow than the other skies. So I'm going to take a little bit more of that out. Bring that one back up a little bit. So you can kind of play around a little, just try to get them as consistent as possible. And sometimes it's not just the exposure, but the shadows, the highlights, that kind of stuff. And then as you can see here, next series is you have this dock photo of them walking. I brought back the sky a little bit. So this one's a nice far away one that if it goes in the wedding album, I can crop it. There's a place for the gutter. And then this one's a little closer. I'll work on the exposure a little bit. And that's really it. We have a far away photo and we have a close-up photo. And then here we have these. So now I need to go through and edit these, and I'm going to use this exact same process. There'll be a little cropping because this tree is a little distracting. There's not a lot of detail in the sky. We didn't have a lot of clouds that day. So I'll really be judicious when I play with those. And that is it for now. All right. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.